conversation today. Everyone's made time in their very busy schedule, so we thank everyone for their concern and their consideration as we contemplate these difficult issues. So, without further ado, I'll start introducing some of our panelists today. First, I know most of our panelists don't need an introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. So, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce the Mayor of the City of Miami, Francis Suarez. Next, I'd like to introduce the Chairman of the City of Miami Commission, Mr. Keon Hardiman. Next, I'd like to introduce Chief of the City of Miami Police, Chief Galena. And last but certainly not least, one of the visionaries of Miami development and the unofficial mayor of Wynwood, Mr. Moshe Manna. Yeah, if we could balance it up. Thank you. Appreciate it. There we go. Oh, okay. Our city manager will join us momentarily. We'll introduce him when he arrives. So I just want to start, perhaps, Mr. Mayor, we could just start with, a vision for, I'm sorry, here you go. Just a vision for what do you think Wynwood should be? What do you think Wynwood is? If you could just talk about, can we turn his mic on, please?
Yeah, okay, good. We're good.
There we go.
All right.
So if you could just talk about your vision of Wynwood and your personal opinion, that would be great.
Well, let me begin by saying that I'm the first mayor of Miami in the entire history of the city, 123 years, that was actually born in the city of Miami. So I grew up here seeing success and failures of neighborhoods. I grew up in South Beach, when South Beach, when Washington Avenue had how many clubs, Louis, did it have back then? 30, 40, 105? And I also saw how a city could cripple a neighborhood like South Beach as well. I just gotten on the commission before they rolled back the alcohol sales in Coconut Grove and saw, the consequence of that in the Grove as well. So for me, this is a neighborhood that really came out of, it's like the phoenix, it came out of nothing, it came out of the ashes. It's a neighborhood that was an industrial neighborhood, it was an impoverished neighborhood, and because of many visionaries, it has transformed itself into one of the most exciting neighborhoods, not only in the United States, but in the planet. I think it's the most Instagrammed or Googled neighborhood in the United States or in the planet. So that's something we want to preserve as a city. We want to make sure that we are able to find that balance, that delicate balance between understanding that Wynwood is a place where thousands of people congregate, and they congregate for a variety of different reasons, to a place now that's being populated by residents. We're now seeing residential towers, and we're also going to be seeing office towers as well. So what we've seen happen, unfortunately, in other parts of the city, and I remember when Louis used to own space, and I used to tell him, don't ever kill the goose that laid the golden egg, because in his particular case, he had a 24-hour liquor license in an entertainment district. But it came into conflict at times with the residents. And clearly, the main issue is noise. I mean, that's always the issue. And whenever anybody comes to meet with me to talk about creating a new and creative venue, I always tell them, you've got to be really conscientious of the noise, because at the end of the day, we respond to our residents. And that's something that they're our bosses, right? They're the ones that vote us in or out of office. And so that's a balance that we have to try to carefully balance. And I know that there's been a lot of discussion about our noise ordinance. There's a lot of discussion with how late you can make noise. And I think those are things that we should come together as a community and have a consensus so that we can go forward and make sure that this neighborhood, that so many visionaries, including Moishe and the Goldmans and people like Albert Garcia that were here even before then. I mean, so many people make this, and really all the people who are here in the audience are what make this neighborhood great. Those that come here on a day-to-day basis, come here on the weekends. We've had major events here without any major incidents, thank the good Lord. And I want to thank also our police department, our chief who's here, our city manager who will be coming, or who is here, there he is. I really want to thank them because we're all stewards of this. And I think if we all work together, if we compromise, and if we talk and we have dialogue, I really do feel that Wynwood can continue to grow and progress in the way that it has and that it should for our city.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So while we're on that side, Mr. Chairman, this is your district, and obviously you probably have strong opinions about Wynwood. Obviously, you've overseen a lot of the revitalization and continued growth that has occurred. So why don't you share with us your vision for the neighborhood?
The first thing that we want to consider about Wynwood is where it was, right? And then where it is today and where it's going in the future. The first thing I think we have to all realize is that Wynwood, in a way, is a creature of its own making. I mean, this is a space that no matter where you're from, people are coming to. People are choosing to come to Wynwood versus going to Miami Beach. And I think that's a very important conversation that we have to have in Miami, because we have to be able to continue to attract visitors to our spaces. This is how the businesses that are here and that are coming will continue to survive. And it's important to differentiate us and Miami Beach in that, because we are in direct competition with what's happening across the water. And we know that there are a lot of things going on in Miami Beach right now, where they're rolling back hours of the alcohol sales and making it very unpleasant for people to be there. Now, I say that to say that in Miami, we have to be very careful about what we do in killing the tourism that comes here. But I also think that this conversation is truly about the difference between noise and sound, right? So noise is something that is that's audible to someone. When the vibrations hit the air, you can hear it. We can hear the construction. We hear that right now. The question is that noise? Is it violative of our noise ordinance? Noise is that sound. Noise is something that not just that it's the vibrations in the air, but then it causes it's unpleasant. So something that is unpleasant that you're hearing, such as a pig squealing. If you hear a pig squealing at all hours of the night, most people would agree that that sound is unpleasant and no one wants to hear it. And so, this conversation comes about many times. If you're a parent, your child's music that you may hear is noise, but they hear it as a great sound. They love it, they dance to it. Children may hear classical music and think that it is noise. But to you, it's wonderful music. And so the reason I bring that up is because I do believe that the city of Miami is behind in how it characterizes what is noise. I think the city of Miami is behind in how it differentiates in what areas that noise is of concern. Obviously, anywhere that someone lives, there is going to be this battle between what is noise and what is sound and what is acceptable. And many people will tell you that the decibel amount of being near a highway, or hearing cabs or honking horns, or just the average day-to-day of a downtown, for instance, area, it causes much more noise than does the playing of music at a special event. The difference, though, is that one is the hustle and bustle of the city, and the other they believe to be man-made or caused, and causes a concern. And so when I think about a space like Wynwood, and it makes me think about that this is a space where especially we have to get a hold of what is noise versus what is sound. And that's the first thought process that we have to have right in a space like this.
Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you so much. So on that note, and Mr. Chief, you have one over there. Here, we'll keep this over here. Thank you. Next question will go to you, because obviously there's been a lot in the news about noise ordinances and violations and things like that. Some of our businesses are here who've received various noise violations, and obviously the police don't make the laws. A lot of times it falls to you to enforce. But some of our businesses have expressed concern and just wondered, where did the noise ordinance come from? What is it, and how can an honest business owner, avoid running afoul of these kinds of laws?
The code, I can't speak to when certain laws were written into Miami 21 or the code in itself. What I can tell you, and I think that it's evident, and I agree with Commissioner Hardiman, by the way, that a lot of the code is in fact archaic. And that's just the truth. And the city has to do a better job. And I know that it's difficult, but I think the city has to do a better job in adjusting the code to fit the different parts of the city. We're a big city. We like to call ourselves a global city, but sometimes we are a little bit behind the times in how we adjust our laws. And so I think what has to happen is the legislators need to come together, along with our city managers, certainly with me, with building, with zoning, and understand what fits in each neighborhood. And I know that that may be complicated, but nonetheless, I think that's what we have to do, because every neighborhood is different. And I can tell you that I worked this neighborhood. I was a rookie policeman here in Wynwood from 1990 to 1993. I worked right here. And I saw what this neighborhood was, and I see what this neighborhood is now. And this is a wonderful neighborhood that attracts people from all over the world. It is a very inclusive neighborhood, which I think is what Miami should be all about. We see examples of other cities, not just in Florida, but across the country, that don't have that attitude. We're very open here, and we want everyone to come to the city of Miami, and we want Miami to continue to grow. The city has been growing the last couple years, and we certainly don't want to get in the way of that growth. And so sometimes I feel it is a little bit unfair. A lot of times when people don't know what to do, they kind of put it on the police. If it's an issue with the homeless, well, let's put it on the police. If it's an issue that deals with noise, well, let's put it on the police. We're not going to run from any of that. Sometimes we have to be the ones that make the decisions, and sometimes those decisions are popular and sometimes they're not. We're not going to run from them. I think what we need to do here, and I mentioned it earlier when I met with the Wynwood bid, when I went to their meeting this morning, ultimately I think everybody needs to recognize that it would be an absolute shame that if we don't find some way to have consensus to make sure that this neighborhood remains the vibrant, inclusive, accepting neighborhood that it is, that would be a shame, and I think that everyone would be saddened by that.
Thank you, Chief. So, Mr. Bennett, sir, if you could, Mr. Bennett, you've been a supporter of Save Wynwood since we launched the campaign, and thank you for that support. So many people think of Wynwood as an arts and entertainment district, but a lot of our campaign has been about the fact that the law hasn't, as the chief said, caught up with that. So if you could just explain for the people that might not be aware, why can't Wynwood be what it needs to be with the laws that are on the books, and what needs to change in your opinion?
Okay, thank you everybody for coming in here. I really appreciate it, because I feel like now we are facing this is a historic moment. Either we're going to save Wynwood or we're not. So I really want to thank you, Mayor, to come here, Commissioner Keon, and the Chief Police. Thank you so much for coming in here. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody coming in here. So the story is that some people like to confuse the issue. Why did we create the Save Wynwood movement? It's not about the marketplace. It has nothing to do with the marketplace. I just want to make it clear. It's not about the TUP. Yes, it started when it started. The Arab Spring started with some vendor that put himself on fire because they closed his cart down. They shut it down, so the whole Arab Spring started. But it's not because of the guy because they shut down the cart. This was the one that just started it. And it's really kind of waking me up. It's really got me to think about Wynwood and about all my experiences in the past, what I have done, how I achieved, why I came to Wynwood, why did I buy 45 acres, my purpose here in Miami, my goals in Miami, what I want to achieve, what I want to get done. Time is running out and we need to really step it up. So when I've done many projects in my life, businesses, I built buildings, ecosystems, I was involved in many development. One of them was the meat packing. And I saw how it really works, how the system works. I was in South Beach. Sometimes I pay for the bottles also, for the South Beach bottles, expensive ones. And I've seen people standing on the door, by the door, and checking people by the watch, by the shoes, who can come, who cannot come. And so when I came to Wynwood, this is after Goldman, may his soul rest in peace, that he laid the ground, the ground for Miami to become an entertainment hub. And I came and said, we're going to build the cultural infrastructure hub of Miami that Miami needs so desperately in Wynwood. Shutting down the marketplace, he just woke me up, say, Moish, wait a minute, we're starting here another slow death of this neighborhood. Everywhere I go in the world, everybody knows Wynwood. This is a national treasure. And Miami doesn't have entertainment hub. It doesn't have it because every time we have it, they blow it up. Every time we have it, they come in putting in the middle of the playground and say, now you guys have to go home. So we have a developer here next to us that he put his building in the middle. He built it so cheap. And then he wants me to shut it down, the music at 11 o'clock. He wants the people shut down everything 11 o'clock. So I'm here to speak in the name of the entire neighborhood, the name of Miami, the name of South Florida. We need to save this neighborhood before we get on the march to our death. So when I put myself against the Wynwood bid, I say I'd rather die on the operation table than I bleed to death. This is it. People that know, people, they're gonna think you're going after the bid, and and some people hiding. They're hiding because they're afraid to say, yes, we have problems, and they have big problems. They get visited nightly by the police, but some of them chose to duck down. Let us win. After the war, we come out and we kiss and hug.
So Mr. Mann.
So I'm coming. I'm coming forward. So the vision is we want to protect Wynwood. We want to make it an entertainment hub. We want to change the noise rules that we have until now, that they are inadequate, because Miami is about being outdoor. Let the people walk, let the people enjoy the music outside. It's fun. We got all the colors, and all the people can afford. People who cannot afford, let them come, let them enjoy it. Go build residential somewhere else. Miami, one of the lowest occupancy rate that we have in America. Why do you need to come to the middle of the party? Why? Let us live. Let us build entertainment alone. Let us have entertainment hub that we can have comedy clubs. We can have theater. Let them build on top of it. The vision is to have commercial, to have entertainment with commercial. It goes very, very well. You don't need to do every time residential. Enough is enough is enough. And that's why I stood up. I say, this is it. Now or never.
So Mr. Mann, I want to be clear here because a lot of people are paying attention. I want to be clear. For the residential that's already here, is there a way for that to coexist with Wynwood as an arts and entertainment district? Do you think that people moved here for that? Do you think that people knew what they were getting themselves into, or what?
Okay, first of all, I'm really sorry because people who move to this neighborhood, they need to know where they're coming in. They need to know they're coming to the middle of the party, to art entertainment area where there is music at night. People must know it. Besides it, if a developer wants to build residential, God bless. Make better windows, make better walls, make better construction. And don't come to this neighborhood after everything we did, all the hard work for the last 10, 12 years that we have put in here. Put your building in the middle, build it, fill it, and then sell it to the hedge funds and let us deal with the tenant over here. So yes, it can exist, but they have to understand that we want to party after 11 o'clock. We want a place where we can hear the music. Commissioner Key, on your right, the difference between noise and music. The problem with this building, even if we walk down the street, you can hear people walking down the street. What are they going to tell the buses? Don't drive by?
Thank you, Mr. Mann, for your very honest
Thank you.
opinion. Thank you. So, Mr. Mayor, obviously this is a city that has a lot of opinions and a lot of interested parties, and obviously developers play a certain role, and arts and entertainment plays a certain. Officials have to strike, and we understand that. So, what I love, just from some perspective, because you've been in government a long time, I'm sure you've seen more difficult situations than this. In your opinion, what does a path forward look like from the people who feel very strongly that Wynwood's identity as an arts and entertainment district should be protected, and also that there are some residential developments already approved What does the way forward look like for that balance?
Well, I think we have to get together. I think we all have to come together. There has to be some compromise. I do agree that, and I have always agreed that, if you live in a certain area, you should expect what the area has, right? You decided you wanted to rent there or buy there. There's certain things that come with that area. Obviously, you're not living in the suburbs if you come and to live in Wynwood, right? I mean, that's pretty clear. When we approved the NRD and we approved the MANA SAP, both things that approved by me as a commissioner, we anticipated that there would be residential, commercial, that Wynwood was going to continue to evolve. And what you can anticipate is where will the tension points come from? And obviously, naturally, as the neighborhood has grown and progressed as fast as it has, which is a great thing, we have seen those tension points. And I think we now have to change a variety of things. I think we have to look at, and I think the chairman talked about it, we have to really look at our noise ordinance, right? Because ambient noise, I mean, we're sitting here, we can hear a ton of ambient noise, right? And that is something that has to be differentiated from the noise that is produced from a particular place. We already do that with festivals like Ultra, and so, as you know, that gives you a very objective standard where you know how to comply or how not to comply. I think it's very frustrating for a business owner when they don't know what they can do to comply with the law, and so I think that is very frustrating. And so I think we have to deal with that issue. I also think that, again, we have to have a conversation about the future, because I suspect, based on the NRD and based on the SAP, that there will continue to be more residents in this area. And so I think we have to figure out what they're going to be willing to tolerate and what's reasonable for them to tolerate, and then come together. But I think I've seen, and I will agree with something that Moishe said. I've seen emails from residents of residents of this area, some that complain, but I've also seen emails of people that say, no, this is what we want. This is what we rented for, right? So I've seen both kinds of I have, and so that happens. We're dealing with a variety of things right now, and we get both sides of that argument. So I think it's incumbent on us to listen. First of all, we're here to listen, and we were here to get both sides of the story. As the chief said, I went earlier to the meeting as well. I went to the other meeting of the bid the last time, and I'm willing to do whatever I have to do and work as long as I have to work and spend as much time as I have to, and I'm sure the chairman agrees, until we get it right. Because at the end of the day, what I think people expect from government is to know what the rules are, so that everyone can play by the rules, but the rules have to be fair and they have to be standardized, so that if you buy a business or you start a business, you know what you're getting yourself into. And I'm blessed to have friendships and relationships with many of the business owners here. They've supported me from way before I ran for mayor as a councilman, and I've been able to vote on a lot of the rules and regulations that helped make Wynwood what it is today, and I'm very proud of it. Frankly, I come here, and every single time that I come to Wynwood, there's something new. Every single time. There's a new development, internal build out. There's something new happening. And that is something special, frankly. And we have to preserve that. We have to continue to allow that to grow. Our city's doing phenomenally well. We grew 10.5% last year, 8.5% my first year as mayor. We had the lowest homicide rate. Everyone talks about, the noise and the partying and all that, but I focus on the homicide rate, right? We had the lowest homicide rate my first year as mayor in 51 years. So I frankly would rather people be partying than hurting each other. So that's something that I certainly prefer. And the second year, we went down to 55-year low in homicides. And I think that is a testament to the way our city is growing. If our city wasn't working well, those numbers would not be right. And so I think that's a testament to what we've created here in this city and in this neighborhood as well.
Wow.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the next question, I'd like to talk about some local government things. So Mr. Chairman, so this would be best for you. The Wynwood Business Improvement District is a body for this area, and they've done some incredible things since its inception. I think everybody would agree. And one of the questions I've heard a lot from the course of doing this campaign and launching this petition is, people not really understanding how that body works. You know, it's elected by pieces of property, not by people. The property folio gets one vote, and so on and so forth. What do you say to people who are afraid that without owning property, they don't feel like the body for the neighborhood properly represents them?
That's a pretty good question. Obviously, back in the day, you had to be white and a property owner to vote. I think people remember this. And we determined as a community, as a nation, that that wasn't the way that we should move forward. Lots of people were enfranchised through that process. And what I don't want to do is have people confuse the right to vote, you know, for the government of your choosing versus something like a business improvement district. Business improvement districts are not new. We have some in the city of Miami. To mind, I can think of 3, and many of them are created differently. I believe the one in Coconut Grove, for instance, you have a commissioner that sits on the actual bid board, and here we don't have that. And one of the things that I've noticed about the bid is that, I mean, it's obvious that,
Mr. Mayor, we don't have one residential in the SAP because why? It's great to bring business. Miami has plenty of residential, but people don't have income. There is nothing that really hurts me more when somebody asks, come tell me, Moshe, you have a job for me? It's painful for me because I know they finished school, they did what they were asked to do, and to see them doing waitressing job, just because of bartending, this is painful for me.
they make good
So,
money too, though.
I'm sorry?
They make good money too, though.
I know they make money good, but how long it can last? So the idea was that we put the 45 acres that mainly to create business. And that's where we came with the Asia Latino until this administration screwed it up. But we are going to continue with our vision. It's just taking time. It's just like we had, you know, this is how to call it on the road when you have a bump on the road. So we'll fix it. So meanwhile, we got activated other areas just to make it happy and interesting and bring more people, and thousands of people will bring in here. The other issue, and I'm going to get into the other issues that I want Mr. Mayor to deal with to deal with your city. So the vision was to create the global trade hub because the future of America, I totally believe, embedded in Latin America. 700 million people, 300 million people, we're sitting right in the middle of this 1 billion people economy. And if we cannot capitalize on it, we're stupid. So we started with the whole global trade hub, bring the East, Latin America into one ecosystem. And then we went to downtown Miami. We bought 60 buildings to make it the Silicon Valley of Latin America. I didn't buy buildings just to keep them. It's a very, very complicated business plan. It takes time to execute because it includes governments of Latin America, governments from the Far East, government of the Middle East. It's not take a building, conduit, and sell it. It's a very multi-layer, getting the schools involved, private business, government, so it's taking some time. And we are doing it on a daily basis. So now when I'm coming to Miami, when I say this is my investment in Miami for the long term, Mr. Mayor, when we started this movement, I wanted to put a couple of things on the agenda also. It cannot be that every business that open in Wynwood, a restaurant or a bar or anything, he is always 1 year or she is always 1 year behind schedule. They have to have 30 visits to get okayed. So the bureaucracy in the city has to be dealt with. Then we have the impact fees. One of the owners, he told me I needed to sell my car. He has a great place here. He has a great restaurant, bar. I love to go there all the time. But he told me for the impact fee, I needed to sell my car. The impact fee is really so outdated, and it's really become like a negotiation thing about how much I have to pay to have a bar or to have a business in here. So there's a couple of other issues we need to do, and I'm sure will be many more others. But this is the time that we can really say, this is our city, this is our home, how do we want to build it? It cannot be, it's always be entertainment. There is a limit how many bars we can do, how many restaurants, how many galleries. We need business. We need to encourage business, to be business friendly. I've done many businesses in many other cities. I built in other cities. This is the toughest place to be, absolutely. So this is where I'm standing up and I'm trying to make a change. And unfortunately, some people, when they cannot answer the fact, they attack you personally. Because if I had done this noise or 11 o'clock, after 11 o'clock noise regulations in our ecosystem, they will close everybody move over here. But it's not. It's about Wynwood. It's about Miami, South Florida. So I'm not thinking about myself only. Because, and I'm going to finish here, I always tell people, closing your door doesn't make your home safe. Throwing your garbage through the windows doesn't make your home clean. We're living part of ecosystem and we need to protect this ecosystem. Thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you guys so much for coming. And I just want to say one thing, you know, politicians and public servants get a bad rap often for kind of dodging things. We asked some tough questions and everyone up here gave a really good attempt to really go to the issues. Thank you guys so much for that. Thank you all so much for coming. You can see our stuff on SaveWinwood.org and you'll hear more from us for sure. Thank you all so much.
Thank you for keeping it on time.
Very nice to meet you. Appreciate it. Good.
Don't go run away. Don't run away. You can always go.
All right.
Sorry, go get the